So hope everyone's doing well today. Um, so we are here today for the fascinating feminine. So I'm excited to have a chat with Martine Casagrande,
You got
Casagrande,
it.
and yeah. So we're going to be chatting about as men how we can better understand females and women, and how we can build better relationships and better communication. So excited to unpack that with Martine today. And thank you for coming on today, Martine.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
It's excellent to have you. It's a pleasure to have you on. And just to start with, could I ask you to share a little bit about your background and what brought you into coaching, the work that you do now?
Yes, absolutely. Sure. Thanks, Marcus. And it's really lovely to be here. I'm really excited to be sharing this, this session with you. So I am the creative development coach at Living and Loving It, 360-degree coaching and wellness, and I'm based in Langwarrin, Victoria. And for the past 17 years, I've been showing people that when things aren't going right or they're not getting what they want, it's actually because they're following the wrong structure. You see, because everything we do in life is through following a structure, you know, from getting out of the door on time in the mornings to building a great relationship or even a successful business. But when it's the wrong structure, instead of it taking you to what you want, it keeps you trapped in a cycle of, you know, dissatisfaction and frustration and just unhappiness. So my passion is in teaching people how to completely flip the structure. And that starts with a complimentary session with me. And that all started, as I say, many years ago, even more than 17. This is, you know, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, when I was working with people, helping them to find the value in their life when they had some kind of disability, incapacity. And there they were, all these people having a great old time in their lives. And I looked around and saw there was a lot of people that didn't have any incapacities that weren't finding the value in their lives. And that's what got me started in life coaching. So I went ahead and did some training and some courses and started my business in Living and Loving It.
Oh, that's excellent. I love that. And so is that based around like using the resources and the strengths within yourself, you know, to achieve your best life?
Absolutely. It does come down to life experience. I think, you know, if you've had some life experiences, then you could certainly use those when you've learned how to change that structure. You know, if you've been in a structure that hasn't been working for you, I've definitely done that. But then along with that, you know, it's one of those areas where you never stop training and you never stop learning. It's about the mind, and it's actually comes down to quantum physics and how the brain works and how that affects us, and then how that creates certain emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and our environment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And our thoughts are so powerful, aren't they? Like, whether that be if we can use our thoughts and switch things around into more positive thoughts, then that obviously will lead to our actions and our behaviors, and then ultimately the outcomes of like what we experience in life.
Yes, it's so true. Actually, having a different perspective, then you're going to live a different experience. And really, that's what it's all about. We can be stuck in that one perspective, which is like a hole being in a pit. You sometimes need somebody to throw that rope down and pull you out and say, here's a different perspective. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Or even you know, walking alongside your clients as well, and just sort of, helping and guiding them along the way.
Yes, exactly. It's a little bit like a business partner in life, isn't it?
Excellent. Yeah, it is. So I guess we should get stuck into the topic of the day, which this is very interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to unpacking this because, as I mentioned to Martine before we went live today, I help a lot of clients who may either be in a relationship and things are not in the best place, and they might be having challenges in connecting with their partner, and really building that relationship and feeling so that both partners are feeling understood, and even to the point where even to the point where things have unfortunately already reached a point of breakup, and it's still a very important time because communication is super important, and often there may be kids and other family involved. So in that case, the breakup is definitely not the end of that relationship. So it just means that the type of relationship changes. So it'd be very very interested, and it would be great to I guess unpack some ideas from yourself around what do you think some of these barriers are in men and women living in harmony, connecting with each other, and building positive relationships, I guess.
Yes, exactly. You're right. And the thing is, good relationships don't just happen, do they? They take time, they take patience, and most importantly, they take two people who truly want to be together. And when that's the case, then it's all about creative relationships. It's all about using creativity. And that's what we're here to do. So we're going to see if we can shed some light on understanding more about the fascinating feminine. And that comes down to understanding the fundamentals between men and women. Men and women have really misinterpreted each other since day dot. I think we all know that. And, we're all human beings, but oh my goodness, we are so different. And that's why, we've been likened to aliens by the opposite sex, because there are so many differences and we don't really understand what they are. So interestingly, we think that if the other person loves us, they're going to act the same way that we might, or that they're going to see things the same way that we might, but that isn't the case. So one of the main things that we can touch on is the difference between men and women, and how women are, they're the ultimate creatrix. Every single human being has come here through a woman. A woman is cyclical in nature, and she follows the cycles of the moon, and she's inherently internal, moving outwards. So her nature is intuitive. It's cool. She's a receiver. She's discerning. She's internally very powerful. Capable of unfathomable degrees of love and tenderness and compassion and understanding. And just like the earth has water, 75% water, so does every human being. And a woman is very much in tune with that. As the moon cycles, are moving, so do her moods. It's like the waves moving in and out. You know, fishermen know when to go fishing because of how the tides change. And a woman is like that too. The tides are changing every minute, every day. You know, a woman is multifaceted and multifunctional in order to manage, you know, the most intimate and minute details of life through the greatest dilemmas. You know, feminine energy is very resilient and bounces back after trauma. But also a woman is very, very vulnerable, particularly at times when she's carrying a baby, having a baby, feeding a baby, and rearing a baby. So it's at that time when she really does need the support of others, and particularly the man in her life. And that's where we come to the man, who is not cyclical. He's not like a cycle. He's a straight arrow, and he's aimed at a target. You know, by nature, he's external. He's a giver. He's driven by heat, activity. He's active. He's ruled by, you know, the sun's energy, and he's single focused. So he's not multifaceted like a woman, and he's single focused. He keeps his eye on what he wants, and he moves powerfully towards that. His body's designed to move forward with volition, you know, meeting challenges that impede his way. And, you know, he's got made up of 3 human basic drives that we call the 3 Ps, you know, to protect, to provide, and to procreate. And this begins from, you know, when he's very, very young. And that's his main aim. You know, so very different to the female in so many ways. And, you know, it's interesting, from the dad jokes to the cheesy or cheeky attempts at humor, a man's main motivation in life is to receive a woman's smile. And that's so important to a man. When he sees a woman smiling, laughing, and happy, that indicates that he's a success. He's succeeding in life. Because when we all smile and laugh, when our walls are down, and we can only really do that when we feel safe. So that's about us finding that level of safety within a relationship together. And some of the barriers to that, as you mentioned before, Marcus, are in communicating. They're in not understanding each other. Interestingly, there's one way of doing that, and that is asking questions. It's asking. But of course, sometimes we can feel like the other person's asking a question in a sarcastic way, or maybe, you know, sort of questioning us. But if you were asking genuinely, then it comes across genuinely. You know, men like to keep things simple and uncomplicated, and that's how it needs to be, trying to keep it simple and uncomplicated, communicative, and keeping those channels open.
Excellent. Yeah, exactly, Martine. So there's a couple of things that actually come up for me listening to you share there. So mentioning about obviously men and what they feel like they may need to bring to the environment or to their family, and so often men may feel overwhelmed with their work or with their schedule and things like that, and I feel like they're not always open as they could be, and you know, being able to really listen to your partner, and you know, be able to sort of tune into what's going on for them, and really try and understand. And you mentioned before also around creating a safe space, and I feel like that is super important as well. I feel like, especially if, as men, if we're unable to control our emotions, and if we're going to get, you know, if we get angry and frustrated, and the female doesn't know what to expect from us, then that's going to create an environment where they may not feel safe to share, you know, what they're actually feeling. and that over a period of time, that can create a distance, and yeah, it can lead to like resentment building as well from both partners sometimes. If they feel like they're not being listened to, or they feel like their needs are not being met.
Yeah, I agree, very much so. And really, that's what we're talking about in this part, when our needs are not, we feel like our needs are not being met, and we feel like we're not managing some way. It's about how we cope with stress differently. And men and women do cope with stress differently. Men tend to move away and silently think about what's bothering them, or trying to distract themselves. Whereas women are feeling an instinctive need to be able to talk about what's bothering them and air it. And so those two big differences, for a start, if both are aware that they are going to cope differently with stress, then you can give each other a little bit of space, or recognize what the other one needs. So where a woman needs to speak about what's bothering her, that's all she needs to do. She doesn't actually need a solution or a fix-it. She just wants that person to be able to hear what's bothering her. And it's not actually an attack on her partner. It's simply how she's feeling. But of course, it can sometimes come across as that. And the partner can feel like he might be criticized in that situation, where in actual fact, the woman might be simply just trying to express how she's feeling in that moment.
Yeah, that is true, Martine. And I think as men, we do tend to try and jump in and, rectify or fix the situation, rather than, I guess it's about what do our partners need at that time? They may just need a listening ear, and, to feel understood.
Yes, and validated. So that's a really big thing. Even if her partner can't understand what's happening for her, which is often the case, and that's very normal, just simply to be heard and to be listened to is validating. It says that whatever problem you have is valid, and you're valid to feel it. So that's an important thing, just a small thing, but it makes a big difference. And of course, men and women are also motivated differently. So men are motivated when they feel needed, whereas women are motivated when they feel cherished. It's something very different. A woman likes to feel like she is really cherished. A man really likes to feel that he's fully needed and required, and we can sometimes get that a little bit wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we've touched on relationships, roles in relationships a little bit. I think in our initial conversation, we spoke about you spoke about dating a little bit, and how some men can be a bit confused in different stages along the dating process. So I'm not sure, is that something that you'd like to touch on?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of course, men and women have different needs for intimacy as well. Clearly with when we mention the 3 Ps, and women, of course, are coming from a very different space with that. So a man gets close, but then sometimes he may pull away. A woman takes time to get close and then wants to stay close. So there's those different things that happen in that, initial connection stage. And also when a woman does become more intimate with a man, that changes certain chemical connectors that happen inside her mind and body. And that means that she is going to start to feel close to that person. We're sort of built that way that, you know, the closer we get, the more we want to stay there. Yeah, and then men and women have different needs for, you know, need different kinds of love as well. So a man needs the kind of love that's trusting and accepting and appreciating. So that's an important thing for him when he's looking for a person. And a woman needs a kind of love that's caring and understanding and validating, as I said before. So when a man is starting to go out and meet people, that's a good thing to keep in mind, that it's nice to compliment a woman and validate her on her personality, probably not as much on her looks. It's nice to say you look lovely, but a woman likes to hear that a bit further down the track than straight up. She's probably more interested in, you know, they're getting to know each other's values and whether they're compatible and things like that. Yeah.
Yep, excellent. Was there anything else that you really wanted to touch on or cover today, Martine?
Yeah, I think I could possibly touch on the 3 mistakes that men can make when relating to women. And so I already mentioned one: men mistakenly offer solutions, and they compromise a woman's feeling and capabilities in conversations. Another one is they can often want to be right, because that's part of that aiming, you know, for a target. As part of their survival, men want to be right and unconsciously overpower and invalidate a woman at times. And then also that men can mistake a woman's tiredness as a direct criticism of himself. And then, of course, women tend not to often ask for support, so that they can get too tired, you know, because they're not asking. And also, you know, sometimes women unknowingly send messages of disapproval instead of disagreement, you know, thus igniting a man's defenses. So it does work both ways, absolutely, but it's good to know where you can make those small little changes. Yeah.
I think too, you mentioned about you know, the types of love that we receive. So yeah, like there's the love languages that is pretty well known, but yeah, like the you know, like the man might feel like he's being the provider, he's earning good wage, he's providing for his family, but you know, his partner may be wanting to receive love in other ways that maybe, you know, that maybe he's not providing. So you know, he may feel like that is something that's really important to his partner, but there may be other things, you know, like that could be more important to her than necessarily, you know, there's a lot of different factors that come into it. But yeah, I think it's important to sort of think outside of the box a little bit, as far as, you know, what are some of the other things that I can do to support and help my partner, and, you know, make sure that they feel, yeah, they feel loved and, yeah, appreciated.
Yeah. So probably a couple of those things for a woman. The way a woman needs to feel loved is for her partner to be commenting on the things that she's done that day, you know, by noticing those things. She sort of needs to be told that how you feel about her and how much she means to you. Let her know by hearing it and being shown, and then do something she's been waiting to do, perhaps, you know, something that you might have been avoiding or putting off. And she needs to feel fully heard. I think that's an important factor. And that can happen by repeating what she just said, so that she knows that she has been heard, and also letting her speak openly and freely. So yeah, there's a couple of things that may go a long way.
Yeah, there's some great tips. Thanks for sharing, Martine. So if you're happy to, we might just jump into a few quick fire questions at the end here, and then we can share our contact info and wrap up today's interview. So what else are you passionate about, Martine?
Well, I'm a life and wellness coach, so health, vitality on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and socially. So that means having fun, living and loving it. That's my business. That's my motto. That's my life. And that includes yoga and meditation and dancing, connecting with nature and road trips. I've just done a 300-kilometer walk from Portugal to Spain. So yeah, very much into that kind of interesting stuff.
Excellent. And if you could invite any 3 people over to your house for dinner, they can be living or not, who would you invite?
Well, I love anything to do with holistic nature of who we are. So I would start with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I'd love to hear about his wisdom, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. And then another person is Eckhart Tolle. So he's a modern day, brilliant visionary sharing his wisdom, and he's the author of The Power of Now. And I've very much followed a lot of his work and practice a lot of his work too. And then the third person, it's interesting that they're all men, but they're all very wise men, is William Whitecloud, who's my teacher, who has been my teacher in alchemy for the last 3 or 4 years, and the author of The Secrets of Natural Success, The Magician's Way, and The Last Shaman. Also a very, very wise person and a very generous teacher. So yeah, I'd love to have those 3 people at my table, and I think that would be an amazing dinner.
That would be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And who inspires you?
I think anybody who has a level of wisdom or is coming from their heart, somebody who is operating from their heart, is prepared to be vulnerable, is prepared to break down their barriers and step out of that trap of staying in the safety of what they think they should do, and they're actually going for what they'd love to do. So people that I see doing that inspire me, and I'm very fortunate because I get to see a lot of that because my clients end up doing that.
Yeah. And any last thoughts and tips for men?
I think probably the biggest tip that I would offer is don't be afraid to ask what's happening there. Like if there's a conversation that you're having and it's feeling like it's confusing or it's going backwards and forwards, to actually be vulnerable enough to ask, I'm not fully understanding where we're at with this. Can you share with me? And I'm open to grasping all there is about this, and then taking that away and considering what it means to you or what it means to her. And I think keeping those communication avenues open rather than blocking them and stopping them when you hear something that you might not like, just staying vulnerable enough to listen and keep the communication channels open.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks for that. And do any of our guests have any questions for Martine? And I'll just quickly check the Facebook page as well, but we can always respond to those questions later as well if any come up. All right. Okay, so I will just share that I will be doing another guest interview on Monday, July the 10th, which will be around how mediation could save you money. So I have Laurie Brooke, who is a relationship architect, and she's a qualified mediator. And she has a whole heap of awesome resources as well around communicating better in relationships, and roadmaps around breakup and separation, everything like that as well. So some really useful stuff. So yeah, looking forward to chatting with her and learning more about what she does as well. And so thank you very much again for coming on today, Martine. And how would people get in contact with yourself?
Oh, thanks, Marcus. It's been so good to be here. Thank you for having me. So my website is www.livinglovingit.com.au, and or even an email, livinglovingit@gmail.com, or my phone number is 0417 908022. And I'm very happy to speak to people on the phone, on Zoom, or face-to-face, either individually or as a couple. So I welcome you to come along to a 1-hour complimentary session and see where you're at and how I can help you. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for coming on today. And if there's any questions in the social media, just put them underneath, will be great. Or if you're watching the replay, you can put hashtag replay as well, so that we know. And thanks for Jeff and Louise for coming on today, and everyone who might watch this online later on. And we will see you next time. So stay connected.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.